We want to look at cyber technology now and the idea of your online safety. See, we're using tablets and smartphones to control a lot of our lives. In fact, there's a good chance you're watching this on such a device. But a former member of the notorious hacking group Anonymous has told us people don't seem to realise just how vulnerable they are when buying and using internet-connected devices. Phil Lavelle has more from the World Web Summit in Dublin.
There's making coffee the old way.
And that control panel actually controls the coffee pot.
And the new way.
It's pretty neat.
The simple act of brushing your teeth. There's an app for that. Even cars drive themselves these days. They're already being tried out on some roads. Welcome to the Internet of Things, a new world where more than just computers and phones are connected, and it is here to stay.
The Internet of Things is a massive deal here this year for the startups, for the developers. They are all hugely excited. We're told this is the technology which will revolutionize every aspect of our lives. But it is new technology, remember, and with all new technology, there does come a bit of a health warning. There may be trouble ahead.
Because the hackers are watching. This one told me lots of manufacturers are so concerned with being first to market, they're not making their devices secure enough. And he knows a thing or two about that. As part of the Anonymous group, he helped cause havoc on the internet a few years back. Indicted twice in the US, charged at home in Ireland, and he's only 21 years old.
It really is just a case of people are trying to get these hardware devices out the door as quick as possible without really having security in mind. And once these devices are shipped, they're very seldom updated. You buy a box for €50, €100, plug it in, you never think that it needs to be updated.
These specialists showed me how they managed to hack into a computer printer and made it play a game.
I'm able to control the bulbs. Cool, huh?
And there's a dark side to some internet-connected light bulbs. You control them using a phone or a tablet and give your home a nice glow. You may also, unintentionally, give a hacker private information. They found it easy enough.
The target is not the light bulb is sort of a means to an end. It allows you to get into the sensitive areas of people's networks. So you could just sit outside someone's house and access their internal network.
But the industry is in a spin and says it is all just a learning process.
A lot of the systems that are out there today are at very basic. You know, we're like 1977 in the computer revolution right now. Obviously, things are going to mature, as they always do, right? And security will get greater and greater.
The Internet of Things is set to change our lives. The hackers are on course for it. Question is, are the rest of us?
So there's absolutely no doubt that cybercrime and hacking is now a huge issue, which made it very interesting to see that it's only just really getting onto the radar screens of businesses when they talk about risks. Have a look at this survey from the insurance giant Allianz. It is their top 10 global business risks for 2014. Predictably, you've got things like business and supply interruption, natural catastrophes, fire near the top of the list. Loss of reputation or brand comes in at number 6. But cybercrime is only at number 8, and it's the first time it's even made it into that top 10. And further to that, the global insurance broker Willis Group sees an emerging threat to the Middle East as more business comes to this part of the world. I spoke to Willis Group's executive director Richard Ryan about the increased cyber risk and how you actually insure against it.
Yeah, really there should be no surprise at all, and the fact that it's come in this year, you would have thought only number 8. In fact, why isn't it higher? And I think part of the problem has been educating board level members, so the board of directors, in exactly what the extent of cyber risk actually means to their business, and also C-suite level executives. So I think some of it is about the message is finally getting across, especially as we're seeing more data breaches and cyber threats growing in the marketplace. So I think that accounts for being number 8, but I think you can expect it to certainly go further up the top 10 ladder.
So why the specific problem with the Middle East? Is it that there is a sophistication problem? It's still a developing area, so systems can't cope with this sort of thing? Is there more risk here?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's more at risk, but certainly there are lucrative targets here, especially in oil and gas, defence, financial institutions and banking, healthcare and retail. Some of it is about sophistication. If you look at the energy market review that Willis conducted and we conducted annually, We certainly look at technology in industrial control systems and how they have become internet facing. And as organisations grow and develop, what you find and discover is there are old technologies mixing with new ones, which leaves gaps for cyber criminals to exploit. So as these companies or organisations develop and cross other boundaries, through mergers and acquisitions, some recent research discovered that one organisation, through an aggressive program of mergers and acquisitions, had accumulated different IT platforms. The cyber criminals were in there a couple of months before they'd actually been discovered.
So this brings us to the point of why we're talking to you, and that's how do you insure against this sort of thing. Now, it is as big a risk as a fire or a natural disaster or anything like that, and yet because it's new, a new type of risk, I wonder, are we sort of feeling our way here and almost making up the rules as we go along?
I think there is a degree of that, because people are still trying to understand exactly what the risk is. What is that risk to my business? If I suffer a data breach or a cyber attack, what am I actually going to face? What are the problems I'm going to face? But more importantly, you have to know what the effects of those risks are going to be to that business. And it can happen to a small company or a large company. They all spend significant amounts of time and money in growing their brand, their reputation, their image. Within a couple of weeks, that can cause, significant harm can be caused to those things.
Well, you say in a couple of weeks. I would suggest it could even happen quicker. This is what I was leading on to. You have a cyber attack which happens out of nowhere, like that, like a natural disaster would. But then how do you quantify the damage? How do you know the damage is done? See, if there was a fire, for example, you'd know, okay, I've lost X amount of thousands worth of stock or whatever it is, and you can offset things against it. With a cyber attack, it could be ongoing, and how do you really know what's been lost, and how do you insure against that?
There certainly is an unquantifiable element, and I think that's going to change in the future, especially with regulation. I mean, in the US, it's fairly well established because of the notification protocols that they have. They're able to assess the effect on a consumer, a data breach, what that means. Look at the amount of personal identifiable information that organisation has, and then put a fixed cost to it. I think in the EU, especially of concern to the GCC, should be the new data privacy regulations that are coming into force in the next 12 to 18 months' time, which will make it much more quantifiable, because the EU is taking a fairly aggressive stance on data protection and privacy.
Do you feel, from what you're seeing with your business, from the business you see coming through, that people are taking it more seriously, that it is going to hit up the list and people realise we actually need to think about this a lot sooner than we might usually?
Yes, we are seeing that to a degree. It's by no means near where it should be in terms. There's still a big gap at board level, thinking that it's still the preserve of the IT department within their organisation. It really has grown beyond that. And when you look at the way organisations are interfacing with the internet, with their acquisition programs, working in different jurisdictions, the risk goes well beyond the IT department nowadays.